Hey, welcome to Local Legacy. I'm your host, Nick Smith, where I sit down one-on-one, interview cool people with cool jobs and some amazing stories. Hey everybody, welcome back to an episode of Local Legacy. I got my good friend here, Jared Abrojena, world championship tree climber, business entrepreneur, a man of many talents, and a great story to share. So I wanted him to come sit down and talk with us. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming in.
Oh, I appreciate you having me. You know, I love helping out, and I love being a part of cool things, and it sounds like you guys got something pretty cool going on here. So
yeah, so Jared and I, we go way back. We can go far back as Little League Baseball, playing against each other. Funny story. Jared actually broke my glove on a ground ball. I dove for the ball, and I went to pick it up. I stopped it, and I went to pick it up and throw it, and I couldn't find it. And it was in my glove, and it was stuck in the webbing of my glove.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I had him, but he beat it out. And then we fortunate enough to kind of grow up around each other all through high school and hang out, and then we ended up living a block away from each other, coaching baseball together. Tons and tons of memories, a lot of good times. But give us a quick introduction, kind of give us a little bit of your background and where you come from, and introduce at least one of your companies.
Yeah. So Jared Abrojena, grew up in Antioch, California here, stomping around the same, hood of Nick Smith here. And grew up locally and ended up graduating from Antioch High.
Better boys.
And which that was a rough one. Sports was always a main big part of my life. That held down some structure from keeping me out of trouble. As you know, it was around us a lot. We were part of a lot of it. But yeah, growing up, good family. Dad had a tree care company, and tree care and work was life. And even as a little kid, growing up, every single day I had some type of chore, some type of work that had to be performed before I went out and played or went to practice. But parents obviously heavily supported me in sports. But that kind of paved the way for me in the rest of my career in life was the hard work and having some structure. But ultimately, graduated high school and went straight to work. Didn't go to school after that, and just started climbing trees for the family company, and did that for a very, very long time. Still to this day, I still am an arborist, and I still do tree care, and I kind of work and oversee certain portions of the company, Evergreen Tree Care, that's local out here in Antioch, California. But I have a wife and 2 kids, and obviously our kids are the same age, and they grew up together, and they played sports and baseball together, and was fortunate enough to coach with you, which was quite interesting because me not being a coach, you being super coach, we somehow managed to work it out and pull off some championships.
We did. Remember that one when we hung out till like 3:00 in the morning, and we relived every play
like every other night
15 times. It was like we fight, like really. I don't know why the major leagues didn't call it for some coaching gigs at that point.
It was funny. We were just talking about this. At 8 years old, I think it was 8 years old. The kids were. What coach do you see come into a draft room with their laptops, and we're out there with a whole spreadsheet of the kids with the notes, what position, what priority they were in? I mean, we felt like we were pro for a minute.
We were definitely scout level, right? Like we were for sure should have been at least major league scouts. I thought that was our big break. But now fast forward, the kids are grown, right? They're high school, and then you look back on it, it's like, wow, we put a lot into that. We may have been slightly over the top in our approach of drafting, but it paid off. We had a great year, great couple of years. It was a ton of fun, man. It was absolutely just a blast to be a part of that whole process and that whole journey. So it was cool, man.
And neighbors was another benefit.
Yeah.
I had to walk half a block
Yeah,
from each other. It was a huge part of my life, my kids' life, having close friends like you guys around and have that network, especially as they were growing up and coaching and all that. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and the Halloweens were epic nights over there in the backyard. Halloween, the gates were just open. People would come and go.
That was the one I will never forget. Halloween on Blue Rock.
Yeah.
And we had the bar, my bar open in the back, and I ordered a bunch of pizzas, and I put the bar lights on in the backyard, front door open, games on in the living room. People were coming in, they were looking at the game, invited them in. We had complete strangers walking through the house, pouring a beer on tap, grabbing a slice of pizza, and hitting the road again. We're like, this is pretty cool.
It was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And then fast forward and through high school, and then we kind of, as you grew and things transitioned, went our own ways, and then come back here after we started Local Legacy. And I'm like, man, I got to get this guy to sit down and hear about this whole journey, this whole story. So I want to get into kind of the transition, right? You went from Evergreen Tree Care and then kind of expanded, right?
Yeah.
You just jumped, and I think it's awesome that you made a point of mentioning, like, no formal education, man, like legit the hard knocks, the ups and the downs. Yeah, just like the struggles of building something, like, but having that passion to and the fortitude to just, I'm going to build. But before I get there, I have to share this other story because it just dawned on me. So we go camping, and the Abrojena family, Smith Camping, and there's some other families there. We're the only family without an RV, right? We didn't have a fifth wheel. And this place was probably 45 minutes away from home, Vieras. I'll never forget it. And I don't even know whose trailer it was. But Jared's like, yeah, don't worry, just show up. I'm like, all right. So we just show up. And this guy's got my own trailer for my family to camp in. And he's like, all right, now I have to go get mine. Well, you brought me my own trailer for the weekend? How? You have to make 2 trips out here, and then you have to make 2 trips back. And not just like parked, but strategically parked each trailer to create this compound for us.
Yes, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was epic.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, this guy is one hell of a friend. And 2, he's crazy.
Yeah, it was a little crazy.
Yeah, but I say that because I think that laid some serious foundation in my head of like the things that you would come up with later on. Like, you were always outside the box. You're always thinking bigger, greater, expansion, all of that stuff. Like, status quo was never good enough for you. And so I didn't catch on to it at that point, but looking back on all these little moments, it's like, yeah, no kidding. He's just continued to expand and evolve. And we talked about a little bit earlier about, like, I come from a small business family background, same as you have a small business family background, right? And then just like that safety and security that they believed in, right? It was that if I do too much or expand too far, I might fall apart, or I might lose the safety net, this guarantee that I have. And that's like never, I'm sure it's crossed your mind a lot, but it's never stopped you from like being out there to pursue what you really, really are passionate about. So
there's so many different ways to go.
Yeah.
Run down this whole way. This is a whole couple-hour conversation. So, but a lot of it is, this is a great book. If you guys have not read this, is Rocket Fuel or Traction. Gina Wickman is the author, but amazing books, amazing author. A lot of it talks about being a visionary, and most entrepreneurs that come into this are a visionary and they're an integrator. So they have the mind that goes, oh man, I can dream this up, or oh, I want to do this and it looks like this, and they can see it, and then they go out there and they put it into place. Right? Some people don't have that. Some people, they're just dreamers. They can dream stuff and they have that vision, but they don't know how to integrate. They don't know how to put it into play.
Right.
And and I learning this later on in life about myself, that I have that. I had both of these things, and working for a small company, it kind of made me think for years and years and years, what is the plan? Mm-hmm. Like, I see my father's vision, I see my mother's vision, I see what they want to do with this company. Very grassroots, very, their core values were very strong: honesty, integrity,
right.
Doing great work, and it was great. There was no plan to further it or to create an end of it, right? Mm-hmm. It was just, this is what works for our family to get by this year and this year and this year. Until when? Who knows?
Right.
Till that day's end.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that,
Mm-mm.
right? There's nothing wrong with that at all. And, for me, having always be a visionary is what could be better. And that's what truly drove me in every direction of my life. Because you as an example, you go to a restaurant and you walk in this restaurant and it has an okay little bar, and, maybe the seating's not arranged well. And these little things that you recognize, like, gosh, this place could be so much better. How many times have you done that?
Oh, a lot. Yeah.
In many places, right?
For sure.
And these are the first things that you're noticing. And now you're looking at other places. Oh, man, if you just did this or tweaked this, it'd be so much better, and this environment would be better, and the mood, and it would create this atmosphere, and blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how to take those things and put them into practice and make something of it, right? And I've always been that person, like, I can make that better. I can make that better, right? And so with with tree care, that was my mindset. And with evergreen tree care, knowing that it wouldn't get to where I would want it to be, I had to leave, because it was something more that I envisioned for business in general. And I don't have a background in business. I've never, I didn't graduate high school till I don't know how long after, but I did eventually.
Yeah, same.
So I didn't have any experience of how to start a business or how to approach it, or it was just go figure it out. And I knew how to work hard from working in the field and growing up working hard, and I had structure.
Yeah.
And that was like a big play of mine, as routine, discipline, and structure.
Right.
And I think that was a major, major factor of me breaking off.
Because you knew that you had these foundational pieces set up, and it's almost like a little bit of a safety net. My work ethic, my structure, my discipline is going to take me to where the vision has in my brain, and I'm going to go and execute it based on the foundation that I grew up with. Yeah.
Not being scared. And a lot of people, that fear it holds them back from everything. You know what? A quote, and I'm not going to be 100% on this, but it's like 95% of the things we worry about in life never come true. You put it like that, it's like, why be scared of anything?
Right.
We're living in 5% fear factor to get anywhere in life.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Right.
It's scary that the majority of a population thinks like that. So for me personally, I'm like, if a door's cracked, I'm kicking it open, I'm walking through it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be open.
No.
If there's a crack, I'm going to kick, I'm going to look. Right?
Yeah. If I can see something over there, I'm going to go find out what it is.
Yeah.
Check it out.
I mean, there's another, I read a lot of books now. I try to read a lot of books now. It's just, there's so many analogies that come along with this. And one of them, and you hear all these motivational talks, people laying on their deathbed and, the last thing in their life, and they're like, oh, I wish I would have done this. I should have done that. Like, I don't want to be that.
Right.
I want to be on my deathbed and say, you know what? I tried everything I possibly could. And I maybe failed 80% of the time. Yeah. But 20% was a success, and it was good enough for me.
Right. And even that 80%, like you get it out of you because you tried to do it. You can lay there and know, I gave it everything I had, man. And the fear didn't hold me back.
And it's like a cold call,
Yeah.
Has everybody done a cold? You do that cold.
I do them every day.
All right. So it's like the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Picking up that phone, just knowing.
Yeah.
But when you get done and you get rejected, you're like,
yeah, that was nothing.
Next.
Yeah. And then you start rolling, right?
Next.
Yeah.
You get that one, you're like, win?
Yeah.
Today was a win.
Today was a win. Yeah. Got an appointment, got a follow-up, whatever the case may be. Yeah. But you're exactly right. You got to get over that fear. The fear holds, and in our industry, it's got to hold 90% of agents back from doing it. We actually have a bell in the other room that we set up so people would get excited about it. So we ring the heck out of that bell every time we book an appointment from a call. So yeah, there's a good group every morning, 9 to 10, just come in, pound the phones for an hour. If you've done nothing else for the day, you've put yourself out there, you've tried to book some appointments, and now you can go on with the rest of your business, whatever you're going to do for that day. So
I still cold call.
Yeah.
I got a thriving business, and I still pick up the phone. I make random calls.
Yeah. Expansion.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does it hurt?
Well, I got something good to tell you too, and that's if you come from a place of contribution and trying to help people. Like I don't call people to sell them anything.
Yeah.
I call them to help them and educate them on either buying a home or selling a home, and that's all I want to do. Yep. And I do that. We have a workshop that I sit down with you. We go over everything. There's no selling in it at all, but it's almost 100% after the workshop is over. They're so educated and empowered. They ask, okay, what do we do next? And then you start the process.
100%. Education and training paves the way. I truly believe that. Because what educating does and what training does, it builds trust and it breaks barriers.
Yeah.
If somebody's willing enough to break that barrier with you and trust you enough to take your advice and listen to you on something, probably enough to buy something.
Probably going to do some business together. And then through that, you create the relationship. And then that's why I love the whole thing, because it all comes together when you see that, when you take them from not knowing you to now I'm like, oh my gosh, you're having a baby in 6 months? I better get you a gift, right? It's like, it's just a wild ride. So fast forward a little bit through Evergreen Tree Care, which obviously was family owned and operated, still is family owned and operated, and then into, what did that develop into next?
Yeah. So during that period, I ended up doing tree climbing competitions, right? Mm-hmm. So I was the youngest ever at 15 years old to compete in tree climbing. By the time I got into my mid-20s, I was winning. By the time I was in my upper 20s, 26, I won the world championship. And that's not to brag by any means. It's just, with brag to what? It's tree climbing. But it's more so the fact that I think about it, I'm like, that sounds stupid. It's more so it's about what doors it opened, and I thought that, oh man, I'm gonna reach and become the best in the world at what I do, and all of a sudden, all this fame and all this glory, and all these businesses, and it's just
checks will just start flying at me.
Oh,
yeah.
None of that happened.
No.
All right, not at all. And I wasn't disappointed. It was just like, okay, well, cool. Reality is, I got to do something with this. What am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't do anything, I'm just going to be has been that won a world championship and then dwindled off in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
So I went around, and I was 26 years old, and I walked around these trade shows, and I shook hands with all the companies that I thought I could do business with. And I got to learn their company. Didn't tell them that I won, didn't tell them anything. Just got to know them as people and their companies. I want to learn the product. So I picked a handful of them that I thought was cool, and I created this little business plan of what I could offer to them, and just wrote it out. This is what I can do for you. Didn't ask for anything.
Right, providing value.
This is what I can do for you. And they loved it. And they all agreed and accepted, and boom, I was a sponsored athlete. And I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? But valuable lesson there was you're giving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and everything will come back tenfold.
Right.
You know, and I look at business like that. What can I give? What can I give? What can I give? And obviously, still got to pay the bills.
Right.
But that was the beginning of that journey, and that opened up doors to work with all these large manufacturers, Husqvarna, Petzl, and they used me in marketing. You know, they made me a poster child, and I do these interviews. I hated it. It was terrible, but. Because I didn't like the limelight. I didn't like all that stuff. It just you felt tainted.
Right. Objectified.
Yeah. It just felt weird. But anyway, what was great about that is I took it on my own initiative, and I'd hear a lot of people not like their product, right? And they're like, oh man, Jared, those saws suck, or we can't start them, and this and that. And I'm like, well, why? And like, why? Yeah, and they couldn't tell me why. So I had to figure out, and I went back to the dealers. I'm like, asked the dealers, and I'm like, okay, well, why do these people don't like your product? Well, I don't know. I'm like, did you train them? Like, well, no, we just sell them it. I'm like, well, okay, well, didn't we teach you how to run the saw? Like, no. So I called the rep of the company. Rep, did you teach the dealer about the saw, how it works, and all the ins and outs? Well, no. We just provide them with the saw so they can sell it.
Right.
All right. So the rep, did you guys get proper training? Missing gap, training and education.
Yeah.
Right? That was the key to almost every company that I worked with, which ultimately led into my own. But what I did is I started bringing all these people into one group, training all of them at the same time. The end user, the dealer, and the reps, right? All the same page, know how to use the product, and then they love it.
Right.
Everybody loves it because they know how to use it. Right? I'm like, simple solution that I applied in all these different areas, and it worked, right? And that's when I found the key was training and education. You got to educate people. No matter what type of sales, you got to educate them, you know? What are they going to get out of this? What are the benefits, you know? And then you build the trust, and it makes it a whole lot easier to do anything.
So then you build the trust. You bring all these people together. One cool thing, though, because I want to touch on the tree climbing stuff, because you went over way too fast, bro. Way too fast. And I don't know how many people do this or even think about it or know it, but you did something very specific every time you climbed to set yourself apart from the other competitors. Do you remember what it was?
Oh, it was a lot of things, but my training regimen.
Your training regimen was insane. Dude, the guy was not a good neighbor when he was training at all. At all. He was either swimming, biking, running, or doing, it was just wild stuff. But every time when you would walk out there to climb, to compete, you would always throw your lead rope backwards over your head. And I never forgot that. And I asked him one time, why did you do that? And he said, well, we're all tree climbers. We're all competitors. We're all good at this. I needed to separate myself from the beginning somehow. And this is just how your mind worked, dude. It was insane to me. Like, nobody else does this. Everybody is very precise. And I don't know what it means in the grand scheme of things when you're climbing, like how important that rope is. I'm sure it's pretty important because that's where your other rope would follow to, and that's how you would climb. But it was something that stood out to me. It was like, this he's a separator. Like he knew the playing field was pretty even, but I had to separate yourself from other people. So I think you combine, and I don't think you should overlook being a world champ in anything. I think it's awesome in anything. But to be able to watch that and be like, just shake my head. I would just watch this thing fly over his head backwards. I'm like, this guy. And just nail where he wanted. Like, how? I don't know how high you threw that thing in there. It's hella high.
About 80 feet.
Yeah.
90 feet. Yeah, and that is true. That's one of the techniques. I actually learned that technique down in Savannah, Georgia, working in Augusta National.
Oh, yes.
And you're in such tight, confined space, and you're trying to shoot a line 100 feet in the air, and you can't get back and throw, so you have to shoot it backwards. You know, and so that I learned that there, but taking that into competition. But you're 100% right. You know, when you have the best in the world out in front of you that could do everything the same or better, which they did majority of the time, you know, you just had to find these little things about yourself to separate yourself. You know, and it played a key role, which goes back to I always say this, and you know, nowadays, you know, I tell this to everybody, and I'm like, take one thing about yourself that you hate the most and change that one thing. Don't change 100 things, change one, and then watch everything. You have to hate it the most. It has to be that one thing that you hate the most, and you watch everything else around it start to naturally change itself. It's incredible, and the people that have done it, it's true. It happens. So, you know.
It's wild. So
everybody's thinking like, what do I hate?
Yeah.
And if you say you don't hate anything about yourself,
well, I'm running through the list in my head. I'm like, yeah, I have top 10 easily. I don't know how to narrow that shit down any further. So, so you took all these people, you trained them all, you taught them well, you found out, okay, I found this void. Now I'm going to fill this void. And then I'm assuming that led to Academy Trained?
Not really.
Okay.
That led kind of my own demise. Actually, it actually worked so well, I started traveling more.
Yes, you did.
I was all over the world, as you know. I was bouncing around, and the family was young, or my kids were young, and it wasn't good for the family, right? And trying to maintain the tree care company at home and do this, whatever it was on the road, and a lot of it became selfish. You know, it was you know, going out and entertaining clients and taking people out for dinner and having drinks and being an ex-world champion and doing all this and that, you know, it was just, why am I doing it? You know, and you hear me say why a lot, because that was a major reason of why I'm at today is we got to recognize, you know, and why was I doing it? And it wasn't for the good. It was for selfish reasons, you know, and so I quit all my sponsors, quit competing. I quit everything across the board. And I was like, I'm going to just be a tree guy. I'm going to stay home and do tree work. Which, as you know, that's not.
No, yeah, I was going to say, that lasted probably 8 seconds.
But I tried it.
So on the flight home, he put on 4 new businesses and start.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I really thought that was going to be the end. It was just going to be, I'm going to come home and do tree work and take care of the family and do that. And it worked for a while, and it was good. That was when I moved out to Brentwood at that time. And it was a great transition for me. It made me think a lot about what I wanted to do next. And I didn't want to go down all these same routes. And, you know, I had to find something that was broken. Because I'm that guy. I'm like, how do I make something better? Okay. You know, and I was, at the time, I was working out with my business partner now. We had a mutual friend that passed, and went to the funeral and kind of met at that point. And I just, you know, extended my condolences, gave him a hug, and said, anything you need, man, I'm here for you. I know you don't know me. We ended up going to the gym at 5 a.m. every morning at the UFC gym in Concord. Okay. And we wouldn't really work out. We'd just talk. Yeah. You know, and we'd kind of do the foo-foo workouts here and there. Right. But it was empowering. And he was a visionary, hardcore visionary, very like-minded business-wise. And we would dream up things all the time. You know, and one day he gets a call, and he's like, this company called Atlas reached out, Rich and Cindy Kingsborough, and they want some help, and they asked me, I said, oh, you should do it. I'm like, I know them since I was a little kid. He used to compete with my dad. I'm like, do it, man. This is a great opportunity. Just go help him. Yeah. You know? So he went out there and consulted for him for 90 days. Okay. Did some amazing things with the company. I get a call from him. He's like, Jared, can you give me a hand? He's like, can you help me build a training program? I'm like, no. I'm not going to do this again. No. I know where you're going. I don't want to do this. I'm like, I'm a family man. I'm doing this. Talked me into it. Went out there, did a little bit of training. Next thing you know, boom, here we go. It turned into this massive training program that we built internally for this company. And as we watched this thing to organically start to grow and everything in my mind come out and be implemented,
Right.
I'm like, this is it. This is the key.
We found it.
We found it. And so I'm like, we can't keep this for just the company.
Yeah.
Because our vision mission was to elevate the standard of the industry through safety, training, and education.
Okay.
And if we kept it there, we weren't fulfilling our mission.
Right.
All right, we're doing it for one company. It was the industry, so we broke it off, and we're like, we're going to call it Academy Trained. You know, that was Academy actually. We'd add the train.
Yeah.
And so that came to be. So we started a training school. We started training school for people that wanted to get in the industry or just wanted to excel and create a better career for themselves.
That's wild. And I remember seeing way back then, that was locally, right? Santa Rosa. Yeah. And you were out there for a while, right? Staying there, training there. And then all of a sudden you were doing trade shows up, right? And then you start to watch this evolution of this company kind of take on what you're talking about industry-wide, right? So then you started traveling again.
Yes. So this blew up like a can of worms for me. It backfired. I would turn to be on the road more and gone from the house than I ever was in my entire life.
Yeah.
But it was to fulfill a mission. And at this point in my life, it felt right.
Yeah.
Like I knew
It was different.
it was my calling, you know. I was truly saving lives. I mean, you know, taking people that don't get that opportunity or eventually going to kill themselves from doing, doing their work the wrong way, something could happen. And I've fallen out of trees. I've had a number of incidents that happened to me. So I feel for people in the industry that don't get that training. And I was very fortunate being second generation. So yeah, as that blew up, we started going to all the trade shows and we're training all over. We got a facility in Colorado that we're training out of. And we started, the goal was to put these things down all over the United States to be able to, help, to build it, get better access to the people.
Right.
Yeah. So our training company, that was like, okay, that's great. We built it. What's next?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was the Two Tree Guys podcast. So my buddy, which is my business partner, Phil, he was like, oh, I want to do podcasts, this and that. And I was like, this is stupid. I'm like, I don't even listen to podcasts.
Right.
Podcasts.
Yeah.
All right. So we started called Two Tree Guys Podcast. It was actually called Two Tree Guys and a Bucket of Beer. And we had a bucket of beer from a local brewery, a new one every week. And we'd always say, oh, yeah, sponsored by, and we were never sponsored.
Right.
You know, we fought out and talk about the beer, and then we start the show. But the goal behind the show was to talk about cool things that like people are like-minded.
Right.
Like we like to fish, we like to hunt, we like to drink beer, we like to barbecue, we like outdoor stuff.
Right.
It's just, let's just talk about stuff like that. Business, whatever. It took its own shape and form, and then it started to talk about, more of the industry and how can we help them? Like we brought in insurance, companies or financial advisors, or, we had just a variety of people that come in there. We're learning a lot along the way too. The people telling the story, we're talking about different types of products and different types of safety talks, and and kind of just now we're the largest podcast in
by accident.
By default, yeah.
But you became a resource for the guys who start a tree company or want to get into the industry. Like, there's so much bad knowledge around a lot of industries, right? You become the go-to spot for people. One, it's free. They just got to listen to the podcast. They can learn. They can educate themselves. They can learn how to start a business, how to do the financial structures. So you're adding, once again, a ton of value back to the industry.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not even the industry at that point. Like anybody can listen to these podcasts and get something out of it. 'Cause a lot of it is the struggles of being in business and what you go through. And it's going to be more similar for tree care,
right?
Because they're relatable. But people knowing that they're not alone and they're going through the same stuff that we're going through. It's not easy. Just like any business is not easy. Right. These pain points, how do you get out of it?
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated through it? What and then I've had people come up, and no joke, this is strange. I've had somebody, and I feel bad for this one. I was at this big show, and this guy comes up, and he gives me this big hug, and he's crying.
Oh.
And he's like, I listen to you guys every single day when I get in my truck, and you changed my life. Tears.
Jeez.
And I laugh because I'm thinking it's a joke, right?
Right.
And I realized it wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
I felt like a jerk. And I soon then got serious and was like,
Oh yeah.
oh, appreciate it.
Yeah. Just kidding on the laugh.
But, that to me was the sign of keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track.
You're going the right way.
Because I truly got into business to help people, and I believe you give and you get.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So all this is happening, and I want to touch a little bit on the family side of it too, because knowing, obviously I grew up around the corner from your wife as a kid. So the community is small, right? And then watching your guys' marriage and the kids, and we were very, very tight when they were younger. How does that, I don't want to necessarily ask how it affected your marriage, but how does your family life, how do they get incorporated into that? And like, your kids are super active in sports. They got swim meets all the time, softball tournaments, all this kind of stuff. And dad is traveling a lot. It's like, it's hard. It's hard. So how do you manage that?
That's actually a great question, and this answer could be looked at a lot of different ways.
Great.
Say this could be really bad. This could be something to be like, okay, cool. I think it's all about clear expectations.
Okay.
And I think it's the communication. And there was not one point, and still to this day, not easy. We've separated. We've had lots of lows. Not being around for the kids, it's a struggle emotionally for myself and obviously my wife. But it's just like running a business. What's your end goal?
Yeah.
What's your game plan? What's your vision? What's your mission? If you guys have the right core values, it's going to be okay, right? And being wide open with my family and my kids, and I speak wide open and freely to everybody, even my kids. They know my history. They know what I'm doing, and I don't hide anything. But if they know what I'm doing and the reason I'm doing it, then they'll understand. But if I'm not home, I'm not talking about it, they're going to create what they want to create in their mind. And that's just like anybody. Business is the same way. If you don't give a clear path to your team, to your business partner, right, they're going to start thinking what they want to think.
Yeah.
All right. So you got to paint the picture and give them what's really happening. So, I think the fear behind a lot of it is where a lot of people don't get into this. They're like, oh, I don't want to do that because the travel's too much, or I don't want to be from home because my wife's going to leave me. Well, what are you willing to risk, and what are you willing to sacrifice?
Yeah.
I'm not willing to sacrifice my wife and kids.
No.
At the same time, I'm on a journey myself.
Yeah. And you have that open communication. They know what's going on. So it doesn't feel like you're leaving them high and dry. Oh, dad's going to miss another meet. It's like, no, dad's out changing the world. Dad's out providing. Dad's out doing his thing. I can handle this. I know he would love to be here, but something bigger out there that he's on this mission to accomplish. So I think the communication factor is huge, and it intriguing. A lot of people, you hear business people, men and women both, they travel a lot for work. They come home, there's this big disconnect. They don't know their kids, they don't know their spouse well, but you've never had that. I mean, especially when I was around Austin a lot, like he would be in my car. Dude, the kid was fun to ride with. I would just be like, I can't wait to pick up on the stories.
You still like that?
I mean, yeah, he can do that. Or I would talk about a story or baseball. We would go into a game or something. He's like, yeah, well, my dad said I need to do it this way, or I should do it like this. Yes, you should, Austin. But he would clue me in, bring me up to date on everything. And I felt like I was a part of the family at that point, because I had Austin in the back seat of my car, dude. It was absolutely the best for me to find out how that dynamic works, because, I don't travel for work. I go away a couple times a year for conferences and things like that, but I am gone a lot of nights. I am gone a lot of weekends, right? Things like that. My industry takes me that direction.
Right.
So, and I sacrificed a lot of that when my kids were little to coach them, right? I just tell people, I can't work with you. If you're not with kids' schedule, then it's not worth the money to me to miss these moments, right? I had a different agenda.
Yeah.
I also thought I was going to coach in the major leagues one day. And so, well, that worked out. But it was just different. So, but if you constantly let them know, and then we would have those conversations. Hey, I can't go to this soccer tournament this weekend, but the next one I cleared my weekend. I'll make sure that I'm at that one. Yeah. Or let my wife. I learned real quick. Hey, honey, when I say I'm going to be home at 5:30, plan it being like 7:30, 8 o'clock, because in this industry, it just changes rapidly. It goes sideways quick. You get on a good roll, making cold calls. You don't want to give up because you just connected 3 people. I'm like, no. And then when they see the money comes in, they're like, okay, fine. We don't actually want you around. Just fund these trips for us.
Yeah.
And then we'll use you as an ATM. That's how it is in my world.
Yeah, I push a lot of this back onto my kids of using this to empower them, and I think that's I am gone, but I'm chasing my dream, and I'm changing people's life, I'm building people's companies, I'm helping them out, and and it's just, every parent could only hope and pray that their kids would get into something that they're so passionate about that they would love it every day, they would wake up, they would work hard, they'd be successful, right? And that's what I'm doing. I'm just doing it and living for them rather than telling.
Yeah, so you're showing
you
them.
guys are the ultimate sacrifice. This family is the ultimate sacrifice. But what I'm losing, you're losing, but we're gaining at the same time. And because you're seeing it with your own eyes.
Yeah.
And I don't give up. So I'm like, you're gonna see the hardest working
guy around. Yeah, I know. It's like we used to, have these whiskey late nights and talk about all kinds of crazy stuff. So like on a Tuesday night, back when I was still laying floors, we'd just be 2 a.m. and we'd just be in the backyard, just visions and things like that. And now it's like, but now you fast forward all the way through and it's like, 18 months of complete sobriety and, all the Copenhagen that we used to throw around the backyard is completely gone and everything like that. Yeah.
One thing I can't quit.
Well, all right. But my point is you could just see that pursuit, right? That pursuit is there, the sacrifice of like, this is holding me back, right? And then I got to get rid of it.
Yep.
And boom, you free that up. And now being clear-minded 100% of the time is obviously our body's better, our mind is better, right? But willing to sacrifice even the joy of those things. Yeah. Not saying to be an alcoholic, but to just the joy of having a whiskey or having a cold beer on your podcast and changing your name, right? Because you're like, this is more important than this name of this podcast, right? So to give up those kind of things, I think the kids, they see all that. Yeah. And they appreciate all of that. And it helps them. And you want them to go after theirs. Go get what you want in life. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to go get mine. And you're going to go on the live ride with me. Not literally next to me because you got to go to school. But so your guys are coming with me because I'm going to share you the experience and the stories, the trials, the tribulations, the successes, all of that stuff. So I think that's fantastic angle that we get away from as dads and as parents when we're out chasing our dreams. Just because, we're in our 40s now, doesn't mean we stop dreaming. Doesn't mean, this is our prime. We're coming into our prime now, right? Like, and we can go and do those things. So I think it's absolutely fascinating and fantastic all at the same time. Okay, so now, you have all these things going, right? You've got locations, you've got training, you guys have kind of blown up. The podcast takes off, right? So now you have a bunch of followers and you got people that are really tied into you now and like a true fan base, right? Cheering you on and watching you. Yeah. They do become fans because that's how you get podcast followers, right? They have to enjoy it. They have to be getting something from it, and then they start to cheer for you, right? Like they got to see
more.
Yeah.
They're like, we want more. And
like,
well,
record. It's just, I got to go find real sponsors now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how does that fast forward to even closer to today? Where are we at in the world of?
Yeah. So, it kind of, one thing always led to another, and that led to another platform that we created of, how do we tie all this together? Yeah, we're getting people that come in and do trainings. And then we got people that are coming on and listening to our podcast. And that's great. But like, how do we change the industry? How do you get the whole industry and be able to move it as a whole? Like, it's hard. I can move this segment and this segment. I want to take the whole thing and go make a shift, right? How do you do that? Well, you got to get everybody on one platform. And you look at Instagram changing the industry or change the world. Yeah. Facebook, all these companies. So we're like, we need to start our own LMS, our learning management system. So we created basically a social media site. It looks just like Instagram or Facebook. It's kind of like a hybrid. People in the industry can go on there and we can post videos on there. Anybody can post videos on there and it gets not edited, but we'll go through and screen them. And we put those for little clips that people can get training and education, and then get CEUs units attached to it. Okay. So if as a company you want to show that you're keeping up to date, industry standards and training. So they go on there and they're able to take training videos now, and it will go into their profile because they will now own that. They will own their own credentials. And if the company themselves, let's say Evergreen Tree Care, wanted to have their own hub on there, they can do that and put all their employees under it, and now they can push out trainings to all their people, and then they can stay compliant and train through the year. right? So it's a true learning management system, but it works a little different because it has a media site, and you can go on there and post classifieds, or if you're looking for somebody you to hire, you can go on.
Oh, wow.
Look for people to hire. So it's kind of a big ball to get everybody to get on there and use it, and then make that shift, right? And so that was a big one for us, and that one's we've been working on it for years, but it's about to get launched now because these things, they break and they.
Right. You have to break them to fix them. Yeah.
You just keep throwing money at it, and you're like, okay, when does this stop?
At some point, we're going to get a subscription from somebody out there.
But that was a big part of it. But that was that kind of led to a little bit more, and we're like, well, we're doing so much in this. How do we give back even more? And so we started a nonprofit called our Elevated Funds.
It is part of our
Your vision.
Yep.
I love that because it's such a powerful word. But our Elevated is to elevate people in this industry and give back to them scholarships through training and education. Doesn't have to be within my organization. They can get it in any other training organization that's out there.
Okay.
So what I do is I white label other brands, products. So I did my first one was a pair of chainsaw pants, and they're about almost a $400 pant. And it's all, lined for chainsaw protection. And we made them in black and red, our logo, and we had logos on there. It was great. They were just the most beautiful chainsaw pant on the market. And, we did a limited edition of them, and I think it was like 1,000, and the proceeds went straight into the fund. And we give all that out to people in need of education and training that can't afford it, which is like 100% of the population in our industry.
Right. Okay.
So, but I think about it, for a young person in this industry coming up, and they're new to it, and they don't know where to go. If somebody gave them $3,000 to come to a 3-4 day training,
right,
and then immediately learn the best, safest way to do this, that probably saved their life.
Yeah.
Or else they're going to go 5 to 10 years of probably doing something the wrong way at some, not so light company, and probably get injured, hurt, and not excel.
Right.
I'm getting instant value back into not only themselves, but the company.
Able to thrive in the industry, grow it, and continue to give back. So you have the nonprofit. Teased it a little bit earlier. I don't know if you want to get it or not.
Yeah. So
there's so many things in there. Like, so many businesses have sprouted out from this phone call.
Oh yeah, Academy Warehouse is our retail store. So we sell gear and equipment as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
From this phone call, this is where this originated.
This is all where
from this phone call where you're like, you know what, buddy, go do
it.
I used to hang with my dad.
And I know. I'm just like, what happened?
That's wild.
What happened in a couple of years?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the store complements everything because people get trained, and ultimately, what do they want? It's like buying a home. You buy a home. What is the first thing you want to do?
You need some stuff in it.
You need some stuff. Yeah.
Like, I need a furniture outlet.
You need a furniture outlet.
Dang
that travels with
right.
No, right there. But that was the kind of the thing is where as a visionary, I'm always like, how do I add value in all these different ways, and how do I implement?
Right.
It's just which is funny. Reading Gina Wickman's book Rocket Fuel, love that book, but it explains in there that as a visionary and an integrator, as an entrepreneur, you run both fields. You will only be able to get to a certain point in your career, in your business, running both those as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And after reading this book, it makes all the sense in the world. It's what your dad probably ran into. It's what my parents ran into. They get to a certain point where you just cap out.
Yeah.
You can't be a visionary and work on your business while working in your business.
Right.
Right. And if you don't have that key player, you can't grow. Anyway, so meeting Phil, he was, I like to think I'm pretty big visionary, but he's like 10 times me, believe it or not. Right. And you think I'm a tweaker, he's 10 times a tweaker. Right. But he's not much of the integrator, right?
Right.
I take things a little bit quicker, and I can put them into action.
Yeah.
So, we recognize that, and I step back and said, you're the visionary. You come up with an idea, you tell me what it is, and I'll put it in play.
Okay. Perfect.
And it works.
Yeah.
And we're like, once we read the book, we're like, they wrote a book about it. Here it is. And I'm like, oh, all this time we've been doing something right.
Yeah.
And this is why it was so successful. Right? And it all makes sense. And we practice this and we use this in everything that we do, which is incredible. I recommend everybody. So anyway, so we started the store to be able to get back and do that and be able to sell equipment after they're done, which this is going to be a major portion of our ramp up for this year, is selling more equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
well, you were telling me a little bit ago about now this one crane that you found. I don't know, you probably created it.
Yeah, so I started my crane company.
Okay.
Yeah, which was once again random, but like I said, I don't the analogy, you walk through the door or whatever.
Right.
I kick doors open.
Yeah.
If I see it cracked, I'm kicking. I'm barreling through.
Yeah.
And I'll figure out what happens later.
Right. Yeah.
And like I said, being 95% of the things that we're scared of,
right,
never happened. So I'm like, I'm not scared what's on the other side of the door. So
right,
I'd rather fail.
Exactly.
Yeah. As long as I don't lose my house and the kid.
Right. Yeah. As long as we have a roof and food, we're fine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I always wanted a new crane, and this is a very specific type of crane, a knuckle boom crane, and they're used mainly out in Europe, and they're compact, so they fold up really small, and they would use them for wallboard signs and construction because they can get in the tight areas and in big cities where they don't have a big long boom sticking out that has to go straight up to move around.
Yeah.
It all comes up real tight. So I was like, cool, I'll buy one of these cranes. I buy one of the cranes, and I was like, well, if I'm going to run this crane, people are probably going to buy this crane, because I have this crane. So I'm like, I must become a dealer. So I started a dealership of cranes. So now I'm a crane rental / dealership.
Okay.
Which ties everything together.
Right.
Because now I could use the crane for the training. I can use the crane for the tree care company. Sales with the retail. It all will come together looking just like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it all goes to bettering the entire industry and making the industry better all at the same time, which is the most intriguing thing to me, an interesting thing, how it all is about improvement. It's all about making it better, safer, higher quality, all that stuff. And you just keep kind of coming out with like thing after thing. Like if I have like 4 good ideas this year for my business, I'm like, home run. You're like 6 a week.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's an addiction.
Right.
Which when I tell you my last one, you're going to be
right,
like, Jared, you're crazy. Don't do it.
Yeah. I probably will, but I think that catches up us on, is that all of them now? Are we active?
Well, to fall back on AKA a little bit, so I
yeah,
want to say how it originated.
Yes.
AKA American Knuckle Boom Arborist was actually a company that just an LLC that I created just to own my other companies. Well, I started that based off of Austin and Kylie Abrojena, my kids, and it was just housing my LLC. So when I started my crane company, I was like, oh, I need an LLC really quick just to toss this under, and I used it. And then I was like, well, I need a real name for this.
Right.
And I randomly thought of American Knuckle Boom Arborist. I'm like, perfect. Boom. Done. Got a crane company. And I was literally like within 2 days, it all happened. I'm like, this is awesome. That's like pretty cool name.
So typical.
Right. Like how it all came together. But yeah, so that's the last of the company. But truly, American Knuckle Boom Arborist is out there to help businesses grow. Mm-hmm. For tree care businesses. And the biggest thing in our industry is how do you find people? I think it's most companies right now.
Yeah.
In any business, how do I find good qualified people?
Right.
So hard. For me, what I do is I can come into a tree care company and say, what are your profit margins? What are you doing right now? If I told you I can get you, maybe they're doing 10 to 15% profit margins. If I said, okay, if me and my team with my equipment came in and I produced you 15 to 20% profit margins and you never step foot on your job, what would you say to that?
Which sounds like a pretty good idea.
A pretty good idea.
Yeah, man.
Right? So, looking at that, and then what's their goal? Most people are like, no, that's crazy. Like, I need all that work. It's going to help me grow. Like, your gross will stay the same.
Right.
Your profit margins will actually increase because you're at 10.
Right.
Right. And you don't have to step foot. Your risk goes down. Everything goes down. Right. So ultimately, if they're looking at grow and expand their company, I can come in and help them scale. So if you were to start another crew and do more work, you would need more equipment. Mm-hmm. You need more manpower. You need more admin support. You might need a bigger yard because you can't fit all that equipment.
Right.
Cha-ching. Or you can just go, I want $1 million more in gross revenue. Done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So a couple little easy tactics. And I look at this for a lot of businesses that are not thinking outside the box.
Right.
All they know is grind, cut costs, increase your net. It's just like you got to get a little creative in these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's my goal. Be creative.
That's crazy.
Think way outside the box.
Yeah. Well, it's proved to be pretty successful so far. Yeah. It seems the vision and everything that you guys are able to put together, having the two of you, the two-headed monster going at it with the visionary and the implementer, and I mean, it seems to be working pretty well right now. It works. But it's good. It's good that you guys keep growing. You're not settling. You're not ever satisfied with, okay, it's enough. Like, there's always something more that you want. You don't even know what that next thing is yet, probably, but it'll come. And then, okay, now we got to figure out a way. How do we get better? How do we grow? How do we share this with more people, right? You're always trying to grow and get better. So,
and there's, I'm a big fan on what's your plan. There's the why. Like, why do you do it? And that's another great book. Start with why.
mm-hmm.
Why do you do what you do? Because that helps your vision, your mission, your core values. If you don't, any business doesn't have, even as a homestead,
Right.
vision, mission, core values. Like, if everybody's not aligned and chasing the same thing, you guys are all just running rampant,
Mm-hmm.
right? And having the end goal of what is the goal? When are you going to sell your company? When are you going to retire? When are you going to do this? You got to figure that out so you know how to get there, right? And it sounds, oh yeah, I know what it is. Well, okay, what is it? What's your strategic plan?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to get there? Boom, 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 right? And then it makes everything so much easier. For me, I know when I'm going to exit each one of these businesses. I know how long I'm going to push till I get there. I know when I'm going to sell it and when I'm going to start a new business,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm never going to stop,
No.
and it's not the money. It's just because I love doing it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Right.
It's really fun. So that's kind of my big kicker on that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yes, that's the why. Yeah, and that's fantastic. Kind of, what's the future? What's the forecast? What do we got coming down the pipeline?
Well, like I mentioned before, I don't know. Right now we're expanding Academy Trained in 5 different states this year. So that's a big push for us. All the other companies that I own kind of follow that.
Okay.
They'll organically grow. AKA American Knuckle Boom Arborist, we're on a major expansion roll this year to double the company. So that's another a big push.
Mm-hmm.
And training people up and finding key employees is everything. So
Yeah.
just luckily I'm in that business.
Right.
So, but we still struggle at times. But as far as moving forward, and I keep a real open mind to what's on the horizon. It has to feel organic and I have to feel right to jump in. And speaking of organic, what I'm jumping into, and I can't talk too much about it, is I'll be in the coffee business.
Oh, okay.
That's on the horizon.
I didn't see that one coming at all.
Nobody does.
What the hell? Okay, I'm intrigued.
Keep your eye out one day.
Yeah, 2 or 3 guys and some coffee. Is that going to be?
It could be, but I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
This will be a big for not just my industry. What we're looking to do is really grow and this in a lot of different ways, but I can't talk too much about it. But yeah, other than that, just continue to keep opening doors, and not be afraid to push the envelope.
Okay. All right. So before we get out of here and kind of wrap this thing up, I want to give you a few seconds, maybe take a few minutes if you want to go long-winded at it, and let people know if they want to get into the industry, if they want to learn more about the industry, if they're in the industry and they want to help growth. How do we begin? How do we get a hold of you? How do I contact you? Where do I go? Maybe some resources, anything like that. If you want to just kind of let them know.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram, just Jared Abrojena. Very simple. That's probably the easiest way, other than you can go on any one of my websites as far as twotreeguys.com, academy-train.com. Yeah, and pretty much any social media outlet that's out there using my name. That's the easiest way. And to be honest, I'm pretty bad at getting back to people. So I'm shot in the dark there too. So you might.
I like how you said the expectation. I'm not a jerk. I just suck at that.
There's
one of me.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly, man. Well, I really truly appreciate you coming in, dude. It's fantastic to catch up with you, learn about all the beautiful things you guys are doing. I wish you nothing but success in the future with your businesses, all of them, your family, and your kids are doing amazing. Obviously, Katie's at home holding down the fort as always. Man, she used to kick us out of her house all the time. It was actually funny. Nick, go home. It's time to go home. Time to go home. One more. One more. Oh, man. So I appreciate you coming in, bud. We got to do it again. Yeah, go check out his podcast. Two Tree Guys.
Yep, twotreeguys.com.
twotreeguys.com, available wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, I appreciate you guys checking out Local Legacy. And as you know, I'll always catch you guys on the next one.